What is up, everyone, and welcome to another Bitcoin market update. In these videos, you will learn how to use technical analysis to forecast price movements in your favorite cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and others. So let's dive into it here with Bitcoin on the monthly time frame, folks. So when we're looking at this from a monthly perspective, you can very clearly see the trend here. We have a low, high, higher low, and now we're coming up right now off of this higher low that we just set in June. Now the question is, are we going to go and form a higher high right away, or are we going to form a lower high somewhere below the previous low at 65K? Now, what I've been saying over the past few months is it's likely when we do come up that due to the magnitude of this drawdown, we will set a lower high somewhere below the 65K high. And so it's a matter of where that's going to be, and we'll go down to lower time frames and see where that could potentially be in the coming days, or on the daily time frame, I should say. One other thing I wanted to point out here was the volume. So you can see they're very close to each other here. If we zoom in, we can see they're pretty close in volume. This candle closed in 11 days. What I'll be watching for is if we can see increasing bull volume. If we can see some increasing bull volume, we may be able to see at least a little bit of follow through the month after that, where we may either end up continuing this trend higher or forming a lower high and then coming down in the coming months thereafter. So we'll see, but typically Bitcoin performs well later in the year. So that's something that I'm also keeping in mind as we look at this monthly time frame. So if we go down to lower time frames like the weekly, we can see that we have officially broke above our previous week's high here at 48,310 this week, with going up right above 49K. We have not made it up to 50K just yet, but I imagine that's not too far away. So we will likely get up there sometime soon. But what I'm keeping an eye on is this volume trend that we're seeing here. We've had declining bull volume over the last 2 weeks. We'll see how this weekly candle closes out. We still have 2 days left for this candle before it closes. Another thing I'm keeping an eye on is the pivots level here. So if we close another candlestick above this, then it basically invalidates this as resistance, at least for the time being, which is great news if we are a bull, because we want to see this continue up above, up to the R3 yearly pivot up here at about 63K. But we are due for a pullback at some point in the near future, and the reason for that is because of the magnitude of this rise. We've already risen about, about 68% off of our low. And so at this point, for us to continue going higher is possible, but more than likely we're going to have to come down and form a higher low if we want to continue the trend in the coming months. So that'll be something that I'm watching for, and we will likely form a higher low if we do come down because of the fact that we've risen so much. It would take a significant drawdown for us to go below this previous low in one fell swoop. So if we go down to the 3-day time frame, we can see that we are testing this gray resistance level for the second time now. This is a level that I have talked about for quite some time. We saw the rejection off of this once already as resistance. So this support resistance flip zone has held. So it held here as support, here again as support, and then we pushed through it and closed below it. So now that we came back into this, now we're rejecting off of this, and this is from our bull trend. Very easy to see: low, high, higher low, higher high. This candle is the candle in question. So we see bounce, bounce, close below, rejection, and now we're going into it a second time. If we end up going through this zone and closing 2 3-day candles above it, it'll turn into support once again. So that's important to note. That's about it for the 3-day time frame. I really wanted to focus more on the daily time frame today because we're going into a resistance level that I've been talking about for the past several days, and this is this resistance level back here in May 14th to be exact, from our bear trend where we had our high, low, lower high. If we move this over, we can see right here, lower high, and then lower low right here. So once we get that lower low, we've confirmed our trend is in the bear's favor, and that from that point on, this last white candle before this down move is going to be our resistance zone. You can see that price is testing this for the first time today. I'm very interested to see how it reacts to this level on the first test, because we've already risen, since this low that we set yesterday, we've already risen about 12%. So it's possible that we push right through this and close above it. If we do, it'll look something like this, where we push right through it, we close 2 candlesticks above it, and then maybe we retest it as support, and then we bounce thereafter. If we do that, that's going to be an area of interest for me. I'll be looking at that zone. In terms of the strength of this rise, something I'm keeping an eye on is the RSI, because right now we are forming a higher high, but you can see that we've just been declining. Every stab we've been making higher, we've been weakening in strength. So here's our initial high, and we had an RSI at 74.82. Here we set another high on August 8th, and then our RSI is at 71. Then we set another high. Well, this one actually was a higher high than the previous one, but it still wasn't higher than this one. And then we go for another high here on August 14th, and our RSI is at 71. And then, obviously we have this little drawdown here, and then we come back up again. And right now our RSI is at about 68. So we'll see how this RSI pans out. But if we keep forming these bearish divergences, we could end up seeing a more of a larger drawdown if we break down on the daily time frame. And this resistance level right here is really the one that I would expect for us to break down on if we are to actually do that. So that is what I am keeping an eye on in that regard. We still have our support level down below, and this is the level that we've bounced off of twice now. You can see that this is from our bull trend right here. So we had a low, high, higher low, higher high. We came into it here, tested it, boom, we bounced, tested it again, and we bounced a second time. So every time we test this zone, it's getting weaker. So if we go below this zone and close some candles below it, that'll turn into resistance as well. But in terms of trending indicators, we're looking really good here. The Super Guppy has flipped to be bullish for the first time since April back here. This doesn't really count because it was kind of just chopping around up here. And so looking very good for continuation on the daily time frame in terms of this indicator. This is a collection of exponential moving averages. So they're faster moving averages up here. These are like shorter time frames. And then we have the green ones down here, which are considered the investor EMAs or the longer term EMAs. So they take a larger period. They take in more data, and they move slower. So it's harder for them to move than it is for the, you can see that these ones here moved very quick with the price. As the price moved up, the dark blue flipped above the gray here and turned light blue pretty quick. But it took a bit longer for the red investor EMAs to flip to be green. So from when they were red, it was July 28th, all the way until it turned green. It took 21 days, so almost an entire month for this to flip over. And so now it finally has. So now this zone is going to be pretty good support, in my opinion, on a drawdown. As a reminder, everything on this channel is for educational purposes only. It is not intended as financial advice. So make your own decisions on what you're going to do. But I like when this indicator flips to be bullish. I personally like to look to bid on the first test of these green EMAs. So that's something that I'm keeping an eye on. If you look at the Ichimoku cloud, you can see we're operating above the cloud now. So this indicator is going to take some time to flip back to being bullish. We need the cloud to flip to be green, and then we need the blue and red lines here, the Tenkin and the Kijun, to cross above the cloud as well. So that's going to take some time because you can see they're right in the middle of the cloud. So that'll take some time for that to happen. But once it does, that should carry price higher as well. Last thing I'll say here is on the 12-hour time frame. If you look at this from a 12-hour perspective, we have a key level to keep an eye on, and that's this yellow zone right here. So this yellow zone, just to make it a little bit more clear here, this yellow zone is the area that we care about because this is where we had our bear trend right here. So if we look, we have a high, low, lower high, lower low, and then we did not test this zone yet. We came up near it, but we didn't actually touch it. And so now we're operating above this. So if we end up closing 2 candles above this and we come back down into it, this will likely end up being support for price. But the interesting thing is which one of these levels is going to win. The yellow level, if we close 2 12-hour candlesticks above it here, or the red resistance daily level here. So that's something that I'm keeping an eye on. One thing I was watching was a potential for a head and shoulders pattern here, but that got negated with this rise in price, basically right here, this candle. And I think that's why the whales in the market kind of painted this pattern, is they were like, oh, go short once you see, the declining bull volume and you're coming into a resistance level, and, you have that potential head and shoulders pattern, and then they just wrecked everyone right here by going up still. So we'll see how this pans out. I like to wait for the candle closes for confirmation, so that's what I'm waiting for this potential yellow 12-hour level to flip to be support instead of resistance. So that's all I got for this one, guys. If you like this video, give it a like down below and subscribe for future educational content around cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. And check out our beginner technical analysis course that we released on lutheria.com. This is where you can learn the foundational elements of cryptocurrency trading and technical analysis, such as candlestick patterns, technical indicators, volume analysis, and a variety of other things as well. So you can get 20% off that course using the link in the description below. And until tomorrow, folks, onward and upward.